typical. Wrong one. Hello, everyone. Can someone say hello in the comments? Let me just to make it. Well, not say hello. Can you hear me? There's about 20 people online at the moment, so just tell us if you can hear me. Oh, hello. Yeah, yeah, I know. Okay, so right. Hello. Right, so I'm going to start with an FAQ because I keep getting asked the same old. I understand it, right? Because the monitors are, to a lot of people, the monitor's a new project, and I get it, right? But so I'm going to start off with this so we don't get these questions. Firstly, the monitor will support 15 kilohertz. Yes. They will also do 50 hertz in PAL. Yes. Yes, this is 1284 by 1024. Yes, which is a 5:4 aspect ratio, not like I often call it a 4:3 aspect ratio. Yes. Don't ask the price. I'm not telling you. And here's a damn good reason. Have you seen what's happening with the dollar to the pound? And over half of the cost of this is going to be done in dollars. So first we have Brexit, and then we have I don't want to get political because I know people can't. Yeah, so our pound's going into the toilet. So another reason for not telling you the price, because I kind of thought things might go a little bit I didn't think it'd go this pear-shaped, but I kind of thought things would go a bit pear-shaped. So there's no way I was telling anyone the price because there's no way I can tell you. And the final thing, it's not a CRT replacement. It's really not. Okay. I get asked this all the time. Oh, you're just trying to replace it? No, I'm not. CRT is a very specific thing that lots of people like. I was glad to get rid of the bloody things, to be fair, but I do see I do see why people like them for low resolution games. I get that totally, right? I don't get it for anything else. High resolution, I don't get it, right? But for low resolution games, I get it. But I'm not trying to replace it, okay? It's something different. So that's out of the way now. So today, well, as some of you know, in 2 weeks I'm going to Amiga 37. So I'm kind of got everything ready. I've got the Brexit paperwork to sort out. That's the only thing left. Everything's booked, tickets, boat, train, whatever. That's all ready to go. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So if you're watching this and you want to come up and say hello, come up and say hello. I don't bite, right? I might not remember your name. I do apologise. People come up and say, hi, I'm XYZ. Do you remember me? I'm like, oh, I'm getting old, right? So I don't always. So don't be upset if I don't remember the discussion we had like 6 years ago, or even 6 minutes ago. Right? But yeah, so I'm getting there now. So what am I going to do today? Again, I'm going to keep this fairly short today because for one reason, I think these are probably better if they're kind of compressed. I will go through. How about as a CRT alternative? Yeah, I mean, cool, whatever. I don't even want to, I get so much backlash from people. It looks like a CRT, therefore it's a CRT replacement. And no, it's not. It's better. No. It is, unless you're doing low resolution games or demos. It is actually, can be better. But yeah, so CRTs have their place. If you've got one, I've got a few. Like, look, I've got half of mine over there. I've got another 4 somewhere. Never use them, but I've got them. I use the Sonys actually quite a lot, but more on that another time. Right, so today, update, I suppose. I mean, we all know, look, I've given up my day job 3 months ago now. This is the 3rd month, and business is. It's okay. It's ticking over. Obviously, the monitor's going to make this a proper business, but the cases are doing well. So as I said, if you're thinking of getting them off Christmas, I've got more ordered for Christmas, but not a huge amount. I've got about 25 pluses in stock. I've got about 100 minis in stock, and I've got another 50 pluses coming. So not huge numbers, okay? So if you do want to get one in time for Christmas, then I know someone's going to shoot an elf for this, but if you do want to, get that done. The other thing is, as you can see along here and on the bottom, or even that way, Patreon. Really need to get my numbers up. This monitor's costing a fortune. I mean, well, it's not a fortune. Of course, it's not. But in the big scheme of things, it's peanuts. But when you're doing it like this, it all counts. So yeah, patrons are really helping out. It's covering all the costs for all the bits and pieces we're spending. So right now, that my patrons are actually paying everything that Appy needs to do the development work. In fact, it's also for the V3 case, which I'm gonna go through. I will come to questions in a second. What I'm going to do tonight is really about the monitor and where we are, how we're getting on, and just an update. Okay. That's basically today. So 40 minutes, I guess. 40 minutes, I think, should do it. I'll answer any questions. So let me have a quick. There's any questions? That was all hellos. How about CRT alternative? How about the colour of the exterior? Will the colour match? Classic Amiga's like the 2000. Currently looks more white. It's oyster white. Nothing's changing, right? It's meant to match my cases. Okay. Now it just so happens it matches. I don't want to. Why would I want to match the Amiga 2000? Seriously, it's a horrible colour. Don't get me wrong. I've got one. It's ugly colour. Yeah. And it's just, that's a PC case, right? But it's meant to, it does match the 1200 to 600s beautifully. Looks nice with the entire. Look, it's a nice colour, and it was voted by the public, so I'm sticking with it. So I'm actually quite pleased with the colour. If you're wondering why I'm a bit blurry, it's because you lot want to see that lot sharper. Right, so let's get over and show you some of the stuff that Appy's been doing. Now, some of you are probably aware that I had this system up and running months ago, but then Appy approached. Well, you know the story probably, but Appy approached me. He said, and he wanted to get involved, and he transformed this project into basically what I really wanted to do with it. But it's not without costs. Right, so let me just change the screen to chat. Okay, so now if you'll notice, all the boards are going to be black, because I thought black inside a black monitor, or black in, yes, it's going to be black as well. That's the other thing I should put in the FAQ. They're going to be black. They're not all black at the moment because they're prototypes, but you can see we're replacing all the green ones with black. Although of course the GBS is green, so you never know, maybe get one done in black. Just to make it look good inside. Now, this is what we call the slot 0 board, and it's the main controller board for it. And you can see there's not much on it. I'm just going to flick through some of the pictures. I asked him to take a load of photographs. So as you can see on here, down here is all the ports. Let's see if I can get rid of that. So get it that way. You can see here's the component, a couple of composites, audio in, audio out, that kind of thing. Move on to the next one, which is it's called the Mez board. Mezzanine layer sits on top, and in that again, remember these are prototypes, hence the wires. But we're experimenting with an HDMI switcher on board. That little section over there is the USB switcher, which works. Don't ask me to explain it all right now, but that's not what I'm doing today. I'm going to do all that in the Kickstarter. But you can see we're experimenting with HDMI. Given Appy's having fun with that. And here's the VGA output. Yeah, that's right. I'm looking at this, I'm doing it right. So this is the board that sits above it, which is the GBS board. Now, I don't know if you can see on there, but basically this is the GBS controller, which makes the GBS fantastic, which is the only reason we'd be doing this, because of that controller. But you'll also notice we've got RGB SCART on this. We've got RGBI, well, basically an EGA decoder, so it will take in EGA and CGA. It's got automatic video switching, so if you put a signal in, whichever's the latest one will be displayed, but there will be an override switch. And Appy's put in some VGA enhancing chips. So there's quite a lot going on there. And this is still prototyping. But I'm hoping to have this all at the show in Germany. Again, it's the prototype, but there'll be one of the original prototypes and there'll be Appy's prototype. So you'll be able to see both if you come to Germany. Oh, hang on. What the hell are you doing? Don't jump ahead. Right. So as you can see, now ignore the trays. These are 3D printed, hacked about to make them fit. Obviously they won't be like that, but this is just prototyping and just experimenting. So you can see it's starting to go in the back of the monitor, and if you can click on this one, you can see starting to get everything connected. So it's all starting to come together. Now it's kind of a much more advanced version of what I was showing before. Everything is much better about it. Automatic switching, quality's gone up, etc, etc. So there's a massive amount of improvements. What we got here? Oh, here's the GBS board again. There's another shot of GBS. Here's a shot of the that's going, I think that's either going in that's RGB SCART on the monitor, or it was component. I think that was RGB SCART. I should have actually read what Appy put on it. And this is the CGA and EGA. He seems to have got a light on in the background, but so as you can see, it's got all the all 16 colors. It looks just absolutely amazing. That's actually my Toshiba laptop, 3100. If you want to know, T3100, awesome old laptop. Weighs 16 tons for a laptop. And now this is something that Appy's. I think this is Appy's generator board. So he's basically, to test the monitor, he's created a board that outputs all these different signals with a test pattern, so we can see if they're working or not. I think that's what that is, the signals. Oh, I'm doing it again, look. Skipping ahead, sorry. Again, another shot here. So as you can see, people go, oh, why are you using the GBS 8200 or whatever? Well, it's because of this chip over here, this GBS controller chip, which is in the new microcontroller that was had custom firmware written, takes over the GBS board. And actually, the GBS board becomes really useful. In fact, it's made everything possible without spending an absolute fortune. Again, I'm not quoting prices because I can't. Okay, but trust me, you can see there's an awful lot in here, and there's a big. You should have seen the bus board at the back, multi-way bus board. The two boards are shown here obviously take 2 slots, but there's a third spare. That's just the basic SCART boards. That's not particularly overly interesting, but so you can see there's an awful lot of work being done on that. Now, having said that, now I'm 90% sure I'm going to do this now, because I can see that these boards are going to be expensive. We're going to have a light version, so there's going to be initial, I'll call it light because it basically does what the original prototype I showed does. The plan was to have the controller board and then have a board above it with just ports, so you get your component. That's an interlaced component, 2 phono composites and a couple of audio ins. So you've got on that, just that out the box, without upgrading, you'll have quite a lot of functionality here. But then we'll have I'm not sure what to call it yet. Plus Pro, not sure, but basically it's going to have the full smash of all of Appy's gear, and it's going to basically be a monster. And then this board that you're looking at here will disappear. It will still be in there, but it'll be disappearing, and we communicate with that board, which controls the main panel. And ours does all the trickery with the retro systems. So yeah, that's the electronics. It's coming on well. These things take time. I mean, to be fair, actually, it's not taken that long. Not in reality. This has not taken that long. But it's, I'm looking forward to the show in Germany, because I can actually show the original prototype, which is sitting behind me. Okay, and I'll be able to show the new version. Now we come on to, that's the new version. That's with the original V2 cases. Okay, what I want to show you now is the changes I've done, which is not massive, for the V3 cases, which won't make it to Germany. Let me have a quick drink in case you're wondering what I'm drinking. There you go. If you're wondering what that is in the background, it's not an Amiga 1000. Let me just... Aros. I've set up, you'll hear more about this soon, but I'm doing one of my completely fully supported systems again, but this time based around my case. Don't worry about it, I've not gone anywhere. My camera resets itself after half hour. I'm doing a fully supported system again, and this will have NVIDIA graphics in it, 16-bit audio, the whole thing, network support. And so we're having a driver written at the moment for the network card. Everything else is supported, but just for that. So this will be coming soon. I'm probably going to do a next stream. We'll be talking about that, I think. But that's coming soon. But yeah, so on that, you not only do you get Icarus, a complete set, but I've set up 3 different instances of Amiga operating system, licensed Amiga operating system. Got licenses, it comes with a CD, it's all legit, and you get 1.3 hard disks set up, so you get basically like the ultimate Amiga 1000 setup. You can run it at 68,000 speed or maximum and see what that was like. There's also a version 3X, but basically for WHD load, so it's all configured for that, full screen. And then there's an RTG version, which is basically what it says. It's a high resolution Amiga OS version, runs at the same resolution. Now I know some people say, oh well, you can do coherency mode in. Yes, you can, and if you want to go and tweak it, you can do that, but I'm not a big fan of it. It just slows it all down. You're better off running the Amiga operating system full screen in its own display. I think that's the best way of doing it. So that's my opinion. And you can run 2 or 3 instances at the same time. So that's coming soon. Right, let's see if there's any questions. How about the... Oh, I've done that one. I can't imagine the check me cases. Was it you I saw yesterday with an Atari for the Win t-shirt? No. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you. Been following you as I'm interested in using one for my C64. Yes. Right, so... The C64 is an interesting one because I don't know if you saw the video I did, my S video. I hunted down. Let me grab a couple. Right, so what we want to do is, if you didn't know already, the monitor has a tray. This is a prototype, which can take on one of these, which is a little retro tink. You can't, for some reason, you can't buy the bloody things. So the cheap one you can't buy. You got to buy the expensive one. But this one supports both. So if you want to get top-notch S-video, you just put it in there, bang, 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 away you go. However, you can spend 110, 120 pounds or whatever it is for the pro version of this, or you'll be able to spend 20 quid, right, on this. Now I went off to, no, I didn't go off to China. I went on the web. And I bought a whole bunch of these things. I've already done a video on this, so you can go back and have a look at that. But And I found one I really like, which is this one. Okay, so you'll be able to add this to the monitor internally, and it will give you S-video. So for you, you've already got composite, so composite will look fantastic, but you'll be able to have S-video. Now, on top of that, if you've got a 128D, you'll be able to use S-video and switch to EGA, so you can switch the modes between 128 mode and the 64 mode on both displays. And it's amazing what you could do with that 128, and that's one of the videos I'm going to be doing soon. Right. Daniel, go and watch the beginning of this. Yeah, because I did an FAQ at the beginning and it was, no, this is not a CRT. It's an IPS panel. Talking about an expensive. Talking about an expensive. I'm using FrameMaster XRG. Yeah, okay, but it works best for streaming. Yeah, okay, right. Look, I'll tell you what. If you're streaming, the monitor, if you go in, it's got composite in and out. So, and that's composite, but actually, what it does with composite is quite incredible. Actually, it looks really good composite. So it comes in composite, but it also outputs. So you can come into the monitor, display on the monitor, and go out and put that into your streaming rig. Yeah. Now you won't be able to do that with the S video, but with the composite you can. I think it's pretty cool. And if you spend that much on that thing, yeah. Anyway, right. Let's talk about the monitor changes. Now I've kind of held off for a little while. Let me just switch over. I've kind of left now for those of you who watched my videos I used to do with the plus cases. This is going to follow that format. So I'm basically, this is the design, as you can see now. If you've not seen my plus cases, it's probably not. It's going to be a bit odd for what I'm going to say. But if you do know about the plus cases, then a lot of it makes sense, because this is how I launched the original plus case Kickstarter. I actually didn't do it in this. I did it in I can't remember what it's called now. Another piece of software. And I had to redo the whole thing in this, but now everything's done in Fusion 360. And so the changes, there's quite a few changes. That's the V2 prototype over there. You can see. For those that haven't seen it, let me move. Oh, you can't. I can't move that because I'm not going to see it. But that's that one over there. There was a one before which was pretty rough. You have to go back and see that video, but that was fine. But you know, it's just an experiment to see if it made sense. And this one was a lot more. I'm not saying product ready, but this next version is getting more to the state of being product ready. Now, you probably should already have an idea what it looks like. Yeah. And the eagle eye will have noticed a number of changes, but let's start at the top. So you can see basically these slots go further up now, so it just makes it look a bit more. I had another look at my 1084, but you'll also notice now the speakers. Now I've still got the screws, and I'm still agonising over this, because with the speakers you have to make them sealed against the edge of the monitor. Okay. Which means to mount them with screws. So at the moment I'm looking into snap-ins, but it's just going to push the price up. Whereas what I'm hoping I can get is colour-matched countersink screws that you'll hardly notice when you screw them in. You probably won't see them. That's what I'm aiming for. So there probably is going to be screws, and it means that it's going to stop me having to spend more tooling to make more plastic parts to snap out, snap in. And why has that got a blank bit? This, that, and the other. So I'm still there at the moment, and now I'm pretty confident that I can get the really nice screws that almost look invisible. And because have to have them on the back anyway. But you'll notice how the lines now, they're circled there and it goes straight out. The reason for that, this is where I get a little bit more telling you more about the project. This has to pull out of a mould. Now I'm not saying this is mould ready yet. But it needs to be able to pull out of a mould. So if you imagine a mould, you know, the tooling has to pull. So I have to design that in. So you can see up there, that will be able to pull out. And that will be able to pull that out. So at the moment I've still got an issue with the holes. Again, with the moulding, but I've got to look into that. But yeah, so we've got that on either side now. It's now in a state where it can. But inside, the key thing, let me turn off the display. The key thing is, if you're looking, let's turn off the chassis. If you see inside, it's round. So when you get the speaker and you push it up against it, it makes an air seal against the side of the case. I've learned a lot doing this, right? so you get an air seal against the case. And also with the chassis, we're going to put soundproofing material in there. So it's going to be, it's not like the old 1084. This is, I'm not saying I'm, you know, the greatest. It's the greatest thing in the world, but it is gonna. It does sound good. These speakers do sound really good, and with everything we're doing in here, which again, some great people have been helping me with this, and I've been learning an awful lot about this. So as you can see, so you know there are reasons for the lines. They kind of matching with the top, but of course it's round. I can't go straight because again, I don't need it. Well, do you know, I suppose I could actually. I could go straight on there, just do it like I've done here, so it's not actually going straight through. Maybe I'll look into that, and then it'll match the top actually. Now you come think of it, actually, that might match the top in a little bit better actually, wouldn't it? But anyway, for those who've not seen the monitor, you see there's a handle underneath. Okay, so there's a nice handle there, grab handle, so you can carry it around. And if I take off the no, not that. If I take off the bezel and put the chassis in, you'll see there's a handle. Can you see that little metal bar there that hooks over the handle? And so when you lift it, you're actually lifting metal. So it's actually very, very strong. So it's actually, well, I think it's a nice. Now this is, it's not like your average monitor, this, right? Trust me, this is a massive metal cage, same metal that's used in my cases, and it's going to be painted as well. It's just like my cases. It's going to look, you know, it's going to look as good inside as it does outside, and so they're not going to be cheap. I'm not telling you how much, but they're not going to be cheap. But they are. But the aim is to make them really good. Now, someone asked me that. Isn't there a risk of cracking a case with screws? No, no, because I've done this a lot with the plastics that we use. Don't ask me to quote which one it is. It's an ABS type. I've screwed and it doesn't crack. It's actually, it's surprising. So no, that's not going to be a problem, because I'm doing it even now. So I've done it with I've done lots because I screw all them on, and I've never ever cracked one. I've lost my plot now, haven't I? Right, so chassis, yeah. I mean, it's seriously solid chassis. One of the problems I did have was with the monitor on here. You can't actually see it. Let me tip it round. If you look at it, I doubt you can see it. But down the side on this prototype, the side is kind of it was. I put bits in there hoping it would hold it in, but it didn't. It just did this. So I've now got, if we zoom in, if you look at this on here, I'm experimenting with this. You can see it's kind of got a V shape, okay, all the way around the edge, okay, and when you get to the bezels, it's reproduced in here. So it basically goes in, and you do the screws up and holds it all together. So what I'm doing at the moment is this is the next prototype's not being made. It's off to be quoted. I'm going to see if that's okay. See if that'll hold it and solve that problem, because it was almost there. But this is one of those fine tuning things. But yeah, so I'm hoping that will pull that in nice. And whether I need more screws, because at the moment I'm only using 4 screws. Now I may, but I can't really put a screw up here. It's a bit tricky up here. But I could put 2 more down here, so there may be more screws to hold the thing on. But again, this is, as I said, this is experimentation. This is not the final version, but it's starting to get there. As you can see, I'm building it in for the molds, so that I'm making it sensitive to what's needed for the tooling. Right, so you'll now notice at the bottom there's nothing, whereas before that front was all one part and it went down there and it had everything in it, and also the button didn't work. But now what we have is we have a proper bar. Now if I turn off the bezels, okay, now that bottom part bar there actually has a working button. So I've taken the button literally from the cases, so it's the same clicky button that's going to go on here to start the monitor, turn the monitor on and off. For now we're still using this little board which comes with the controllers, and that's still in there, but now I've got some little tiny buttons that kind of stick over their buttons, come through the case. You'll notice that that's the infrared and that's the LED, and they're set back a little bit, so we're going to ask them probably to push it out a little bit, and we'll see if it looks okay. But most important, I guess, is this thing, which is the utility panel. This is the one, if you remember rightly, that when I first did it, I had it on like a clipper, and you push it in, it goes clunk, and then as soon as you touch the front, it falls in. It's rubbish. So this time it's going to be screwed in. What you can't see there is the screws. Let me turn off the rear. If you see down the back, let's get rid of the chassis. Right. So you can see here screw holes, but if I hide, let me just hide the utility panel, you can see these little studs, and what they do is they go into holes inside and then you screw them on. So that goes on there and you screw into them studs, okay? So that's going to be the basic. The great thing about this is it's still, I forget how wide it is now, I'll tell you, but the main thing is it's let me get a tape measure just to confirm. Well, it really matters because it might change. But hang on. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's 100 millimeters by 20 high. So what that means is you can get a lot in it. I mean, that was the key thing about this. The whole point was so that you can custom design something. Now, for this one, when it's going to default, you'll have 2 USBs, and you'll have a just like a headphone jack. Yeah, that's the one it will come with. The reason for the 2 USBs, there is an internal, there's a USB for the controller which you'll be able to bring to the front, and so instead of plugging into the back, you'll be able to plug it into the front. Or if you've got something like a Pi or a Mister, you can extend some of those USB ports to the front, and again you can have your headphones. But you could, if you wanted to, have like an LED display in there. I mean, you could do what you like in there. So you've got 100mm wide by 20 high, and there's not a huge amount of space. Let me just show you what it's like behind it, because you've got to bear this in mind. If you're thinking about creating something, right, you have got all this space behind, but you have got this metalwork in the way. So you have to obviously think about that. And again, this metalwork I may drop that down a little bit, because I've gone, whereas it was 15mm high, it's now 20. So we're still working on this, but that's I think gonna be quite useful for people. Right, so that's that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on Appy's boards. Now these are not actually, well, they're not old, but this is going to show you, give you an idea of how, I mean, if you may have already seen this, okay, I mean, if you have, well, you're going to see it again. So you can see the bus board here. Let me turn this around. Okay. Now, I'll turn this on because people are going to say, "Oh, that's not very good. They can't hang in there. You need some kind of hanger." Yes, I know. There you go. Oh, when it comes on mount frames. Oh, that's because I've turned them all off. Look. Oh, which ones do I want? I don't want all of them, do I? Mr. Chassis mount. I don't want. There you go. Ignore that great big hole. That's just prototyping. But as you can see, now that top one, you probably recognise this from what I showed the other day, which is in that monitor up there. It's a complete mist stack. So basically, I've got 2 of these, right? Got 2 like this, and you take the entire stack. You have to shrink the bottom ones, put little 4mm ones, but you can drop the whole stack in there, and just with a couple of cables, and it all mounts up and just drops in there. In fact, I've actually got these pictures. Let me show you these pictures so you can see. Oh, I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me go. Right, let's have a look here. Oh, hang on. No, this is the one. Open with preview. Right, so here you can see. Here's my stack. So that's my. It's a full stack. It's not just. It's a full stack, and as you can see, all the cables. I've routed the cables. I've cable tied them, and I've got them all nice and neat, and everything sticks out the back, and then you just shove it in the monitor. Yeah, and away you go. So that will just drop straight in there, and yet you still got room for everything else on those two boards. So this, you know, if someone says to me, "Oh, why is it fat at the back?" There you go. That's why. Yeah, that's all coming. That'll be part of it. It's always been part of it, to be honest. Now, if you're not a Mr. fan, which I'd be surprised if you're not, and you're more of a Raspberry Pi fan, then you've got something like this. Yeah, that's a CM4 on a I/O board. There's a backplate. Just put it in, connect it. Well, so that's really what it's about. Putting single board computers in the top. However, I think some people are going to use this. So you may have, for example, like silicon graphics machines that have very, very special needs. Other monitors like that, which we've not allowed for, we can either we can or someone else can develop it. Follow our Zorro board interface. Use our template design. Put your circuitry on it. Make that. Plug it in, and then when you plug it in, you pick up all the signals, power, everything you want. Put everything back into the to the GBS and just get the whole experience. So it's really, the whole point is a platform. This is not just a monitor, it's actually a platform. And you can build a really, I mean, if you put a Mister in this, you're basically creating an amazing bit of kit in a monitor that's got a handle you can just carry around. I think it's, I'm biased. But anyway. Right, let's go back to here. Right, so as you can see, here's the boards, and let's turn off the mount frames. There we go. So you can see the bottom one at the back is the. Hang on. Oh, we're playing slowly now, are we? Here we go. Yeah, it does this. Okay. Yes, it's really weird, this Fusion. I'm going to turn off that SCART plug. All right. Because for some reason, here we go. If I kill that SCART, you watch this. Yeah, it's all right now. It just seems to sometimes it kind of goes, oh, that's complicated, and then it can't figure it out. So but it might be because I'm streaming and all that. But anyway, you can see this. So there's the slot 0 board, we call it. Now I don't know if you can see it underneath. There's another one underneath there. Now that. Underneath there is where, so if you bought the light version, basically what you would do is you get an adapter board, you get an adapter chassis as part of the upgrade kit, and you mount that underneath the whole structure, and you connect all of that, can you see inside there, onto the backboard. In fact, let me just show you the other diagram I had. Where is it? Come on, it was here. Nope, you're going to be like that, aren't you? Oh, come on, don't be silly, I don't want to do that. Here we go. So this is the Backplane, this is the new version actually. Hopefully it's okay to show this, Nappy doesn't shout at me. But so basically, as you can see, all the bottom here goes in there, everything connects up at the base, and then you get these slots that you can plug everything, other bits and pieces in, and there's a lot. We're going to tell you more about that another time. But basically, that's what the backboard does. The backboard basically has everything. So it's done. So you get all those nice signals. All those signals are on a nice like multi-layer boards. Okay, with all the grounding and that kind of thing, trying to keep the signal as good as possible. But yeah, so that's where we are with the monitor. And as I said, I'm in the process now of these designs have gone off, and I'm waiting to hear back from the people to make me another 3D print and build another version, another one of these. It won't be for the German show, it's not ready for that, but I'll get that soon, and then we can put it together and see how, well, I know how it performs, but just see if there's any, like, go through it and just see if there's anything else I want to do with it, any other changes. I might actually, after saying that, I might make them go straight. See how it's like not going all the way through here, but you've got the lines, and maybe go straight across to there, like I've done with this, so it's in line with it. I might do that actually, because I think it looked neater. Anyway, but as you can see, it's coming on well. Well, I hope you think it's coming on well. I'm pleased with it. Now, on the subject of the 19 and the 17 inch, this is going to be, the Kickstarter, this is going to be horrendous because the dollar, well, not all dollar, but the pound versus the dollar. Now, I did a poll, how many people want the 17 inch version? 20%, 80% want the 19. Now, what that means potentially is that the 17 inch may come later. If this is a success, then I'll do it, or it might just be a stretch goal. It probably will still be a stretch goal. I noticed I haven't said anything about the stand because I'm still using this. It's literally a solid stand. Yeah, it's nothing special, just screws in. But I'm working at the moment. I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do that. Go away. Working out how we're going to do this so you can rotate it. It's not going to be a fancy one. It's not going to be like, it's going to be probably more like the old retro ones where you've got a ball and it kind of rolls over it like that. You might even have to undo it. No, I don't know yet. I'm still working on the best way of doing this. But something so I don't want it going thump like that. So probably you move it, get it the angle you want, and then just do it up underneath, and then put it there. Because at the moment it's got a 5% tip. Yeah. So it tips about 5%, which is actually quite nice. Retro counter, go away. Stop asking me, is it a CRT? I get so many times. It's not a bloody CRT. It's a good monitor. Jesus. No, look, okay, I'll go for the CRT thing again. As I always say, I used CRTs back in the day. Right? I didn't play games. I did play demos. I like demos, but I didn't play games. But I do understand why people like playing low resolution games. Honestly, I completely understand it. Right, I totally do, because the way that it merges pixels, and they've developed games, and they do look fantastic. Not denying it, but I'm not a games player, right? And I used to use them properly, high resolution, desktop publishing, 3D graphics. Freak me eyes out. So I have a completely different thoughts on CRT. So it's not a CRT replacement, it's a monitor. It's an IPS, very high quality panel, industrial panel, so it will last forever. It's designed to be used for a long time. So they're going to be, now let's get on to the panels, right? Because I sometimes get, I might get a t-shirt, no, it's not a CRT. Gee, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bloody CRT. It's way better. Right, I forgot what I was going to say. I've been banging on forever. What was I going to say? Yeah, see, because the trouble is people think it's a CRT because it's got this big fat bit at the back. Yeah, but that's why it's fat. It's fat because it looks retro. Okay, that's a large part of it, is to make it, because people are asking me why am I doing this, right? Okay, let's go through this. For those that don't know the reason, I wanted a proper monitor, right? An IPS high quality panel in a 4:3 aspect ratio. Yes, I know it's a 5:4, but I wanted it in a 4:3 looking retro, in the right kind of colour, and it needed a bit of depth to make it look right. But I didn't want to just, I wasn't going to put a big thing on the back, because the original one, it was just a little bit fatter. But then I kind of thought, you know what, I can put all these boards in it, and we can put some of these scan doublers like the GBS. We can put it gives us tons of room to do this. And I had multiple stacking, the whole thing with the pods. It came out, and then of course I met up with Appy, and Appy then said, well, we can do the stacking system, but have it with plug-in boards, so they connect into a backplane that then puts all the data into the controller card and then onto the panel, which was a fantastic idea, because before, well, if you put a board in, you have to kind of plug that in there, that in there, that in there, that in there, and put it in, try and move all the cables, shove it in the back and slide it in, and then screw it in, hope the cables didn't fall out. With this you don't, you just go chomp, done, screw it in. So it's a fantastic design, and it's going to be much more stable, much more reliable, and I think it's just going to be a better all round. Now, in these boards, I want to give you, I'm not saying every retro video input, but all the main ones. Loads of composite, component. Here we go again. Oh, I've been on for an hour, haven't I? I'm going to call it a day in a minute. So composite, obviously, component. On the basic, it's interlace component, but it's fantastic quality. But if you try to put low res into it, it won't work. However, if you get the GBS board and this whole stack, that supports non-interlace as well. So then you get you got VGA, HDMI, all the usuals. Then you can put in CGA, EGA. Then you can put in. We've got we're going to take the board from this, plug it in, because the S video is a bit more complex. Why reinvent the wheel? This was fantastic. So we're going to put this board in it. And then that will give you the S video for people who want to run S video, like Commodore 64s or like my Atari 800. So you can get S video, pretty almost very inexpensive. So the monitor's an investment, but all the bits you put into it will be reasonably priced. That's the plan, okay? But buying into the thing is not peanuts. Don't expect it to compete with a £100 panel. Forget that. If you're thinking that, I'm sorry. Go Argos. But so this isn't going to be cheap, but it's going to be in line with kind of high-end 4.3 IPS monitors. When you go on, like you look online and you look at the 1280, 1024 monitors, you look at them, the high quality ones, IPS. Look, IPS is key, because if you look at this, yeah. Even though it does, obviously, because it's dark in here. But when you're standing next to it, you can go right around and still see it. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's going to be a good monitor. But everyone who comes to see it, this is the thing. You can't see the quality of this, like looking on this video. You just can't. Everyone who comes to see it at the shows, they love it. Now, panels, that's what I was going to talk about, panels. So, as I said, this is a platform. I'm building a platform. So basically, I'm building the tooling is ridiculous. Like probably going to cost $60,000-$70,000, maybe more, to build this case and this platform. And yes, it's in oyster white and black. Okay. But once you've got that, you've got all this, you can expand it. Now, one of the things we're going to be doing is originally I'd already picked two fantastic panels, 17 and 19 inch panels. They're both of the same family. They're industrial panels. They're IPS, great quality. 250 nits, and a lot of people go out there who are spec chasers will be saying, 250 nits, that's a bit dark, isn't it? That's a bit rubbish. Actually, no. If you watch most people, 150 nits, 200 is fine indoors. It's more than enough. However, so this is 250 nits. I never have it full brightness. I have it about 50-60% at most. I never turn it right up because it's too bright. But they do a 500 nits version, and so what we're going to be doing when if the Kickstarter is a success, part of it will be me going to China. A lot of it's been done in China. Going to China and looking at all the options of all the different panels, and then come back with a cherry-picked range of panels, different budget, different kind of panels to suit them. And they don't ask for OLED, because the problem is there is no OLEDs. It's really, I mean, if I can get OLEDs, I'll do them, but expect £1,000 for a panel. Yeah. Right, so I do want to do an OLED, but expect it to triple the price, right? Because they're like rocking horse poo. In fact, if you look at big screens, look how expensive they can be. So an OLED would be lovely. Having said that, there are lots of other alternatives. For example, up in the loft, I've got a TN panel, and if you're standing right in front of it, the colours are lovely. It just looks nice, and it pops a little bit more than that does, right? But if you go off axis by about 2 or 3 degrees, it starts to look rubbish. Okay, so TN panels are pretty sucky. So it's really a case of looking. I'm going to try and see if I can find different kind of, even a cheap one, because these panels are not cheap, really not cheap. Right, but they are really nice. And I'm going to see if I can find cheaper ones that are still relatively good to give people the option. And then, depending on your budget. Now, the great thing is you'll always be able to upgrade it. So if you start out with the light version, you'll be able to buy the upgrade pack to put all these extra bits, all the Apple's extra gear in. I'm expecting a lot of people just to go straight for it. I'll give you an example. When I did the mini cases, I had a basic version and a deluxe version. 20% of people went for the basic, the rest of them went for the plus. Sorry, not plus, the deluxe model. And I would expect that kind of split, 25% for the light version and 75% for the full fat version. But I'm doing that because there is, again, I'm not telling the price, but if you look at this, you can see. But I still think it's going to be cheaper than that, buying one of those really expensive scan doublers and a good quality monitor. It's going to be cheaper than that. So actually, in that way, it's going to be, I think, pretty good. Right, any questions? You were going to mention the panels, I think. Yes, done that. If I have an Amiga with a VGA and HDMI output, Vampire, will this monitor also switch? Yeah, okay, right, look. So, as it stands at the moment, the answer on that is no, not right now. I mean, there's a remote control, you just flick. Okay, it's one button press. I know it's a pain, but there is no simple way of doing this. Having said that, maybe in the future, because I mean, I've thought about, well, you could just make an infrared controller that's, there's ways of doing this, but it's not as simple as you would think, unless Apple gets his switching to work across the HDMI bus and the VGA. He's probably going to shout at me in a minute, but that's not as easy as you think. But it's press a button and you're there. So I live in, all I did is I just switch between them, just second, and it switched. It's not the same. I get it. I understand. But there is one's going for a VGA, one's going for HDMI, and you have to tell it, and it just gets complicated. So initially, and that's a very, to be honest, it's quite a small. It's not. Yes, it is a small scenario, but it's a good one because I've got one. My 1000 sitting here. I have exactly the same problem, and I want it to be automatics. Don't get me wrong, I want that as well, and I want the same for the C128D. The problem is if they're both on, to have an auto switch, what's it going to do? So you're pressing a button to switch. The Amiga's good because if you set it so that it turns one off and then the other one on, then we've got something to go by. But we'll see about that. Heat dissipation tests have been made. There's no heat. Oh Christ, this thing gives out. I've got heat monitors and testers. There's not much heat inside that monitor. Now, if you're sticking a pie and overclock the crap out of it, then you're going to get a bit of heat. Or if you put see, the mister generates some heat, but not a huge amount. But there's vents at the top, right? So heat rises, and it'll go out the vents. Don't think heat's going to be an issue. But again, you know, I'm considering putting fans, the potential of a fan, you know, a couple of fans so you can mount little fans and like that. If people want to do that, so there is going to be the possibility of that. It's just making it look good. How much room on the bays at the back? Hi PCB side, as I do a lot of projects and would be useful. Thanks. That's a really good question. So if you think the board's actually quite big. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. Okay, right, board size. So if you think roughly 210 wide at the back, as you can see that, in fact I could probably just measure that. If I can probably just measure that, couldn't I? Hang on, here we go. How hope you appreciate this. Watch, I'm going to go from there to there, and what we get is 197 millimeters. And now if we go from there to there, 125 millimeters. So you can get quite a lot of board in here. I've already mentioned to Appy that I'd like a board that slots in. You plug a D10 Nano on it, or even a Pi 4. Then basically picks up all his power and passes signals back and all that kind of. I don't know about the Pi, but with the D10 you can, because you've got the connectors and you could just drop it in. And so yeah, I mean that may be later, but I'm hoping people do other things with it. I don't just want this just to be a monitor. I want people to do stuff I hadn't even thought of. That's why I love the Boss boards. We will obviously release everything so you know what you can do with this, and I just think it's, well, you know. Right. You're on your way to building a complete Amiga setup. You noticed that, did you? I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the A1200 Netboys to give me the keyboards, all right? Because I've been threatening I'll make my own. But they're doing quite a nice keyboard. It'll be a good price as well. But I did actually have a Chinese manufacturer lined up ready to make me a clone 3000 keyboard. Not for 3000, but for like a USB keyboard. So yeah, I mean, am I that transparent? Neil Armstrong famously had his mouse garage in the Gemma case. Have you thought about making a remote garage in the monitor? I've actually got a bit. No, it's really not. I put a bit of Velcro on the back of the monitor and Velcro on the remote control and just stick it on the back. But yeah, it would be. But it's moulding, you see. It's actually making something like drop it. I know what you mean, to drop it in, because it would be really useful. Then I thought it'd be nice to have a keyboard that you can stow away. Yeah. But the mouse house was genius. Go away. Oh, yeah, that was. Thank you for the stream. Got to jump off. Yeah. Right. Okay. Unless you've got questions, I'm going to call it a day as well, because that's an hour. So if you want to fire away with some questions quickly, I'll answer any questions. But I think I kind of covered quite a lot. Anytime now. Let's turn this around so you can see it. Hopefully you'll like it. How many people are watching? Oh, it's 40 odd people. Nope. Doesn't look like it's going to be any questions. Right, okay. So I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for watching. Let's switch back. Thanks for watching, and probably not a stream next week. What will be the week after? Oh, good point. Will we be able to buy just the case? No, because it's pointless. is it pointless? Well, the whole point is that here's the thing. You need the case and the controller because it's all based around this specific controller that's got audio visual inputs. If it's I'm not going to say no, because the only problem is that the controller board is designed to pretty much work with most panels that are 1280 by 1024. It's the size, and a specific LVDPS, whichever one it is, those panels. Okay, so you could technically go and get your own panel, put it in. Of course, then mounting, as long as the mountings are in the same place. I think they're standardized mountings. In fact, if I turn the bezel off, let me turn the bezel off. So you can see on the chassis, can you see these holes? That's where the screws go in. So they tend to be the same now. Hopefully, because the ones I'm the same family. I'm going to check with other panels before I go into production so that it will support, you know, if there's any changes, like a, you know, a slot or something like that. So they do screw into there. The 17s have a little, if you see there's a screw hole there, there's a little right angle bracket screws in, you mount the panel to that. Yeah, yes, Peter, closer. Kind of waiting for Appy though, to be fair. Once he's once this board's, we have to get to get it to a certain. It will be pretty much there when I go to Germany, but there's still a couple of bits I want working well before I launch it, because, for example, I'm going to give it to you, and it needs to be doing what, you know. Now, it won't be the final version of the system, obviously. I mean, we're on version 3 of the boards. And there's probably going to be a couple more. I'm probably going to want to change things, that kind of thing. But it will only be tweaks now. Functionality will be there. But yeah, so I want to launch this Kickstarter as soon as possible because I need to get it moving. It's important. But of course, you know, I don't want to rush this out. I want this to be a product before I launch it, even though it won't be. It'll be almost there. And it'll need that last like half mile kind of thing to finish it off. But you know, that's why my cases were really good, because it was this is way more complicated than the cases. So it's been a good learning experience. Yeah, that's going to be quite good. Yeah, close every day. I know it just takes forever. Anyway, look, I've got to go, guys. I want to go see my wife for a while. I'll, as I said, talk to you in a couple of weeks. Well, what's the date now? I'm not sure if I'm going to do one. Let's see if I do in 2 weeks. Oh God, come on, stop doing it. Oh, go. I'm not authenticating on the... Okay, look, I think 2 weeks maybe. But I'm in Germany. So on the 14th and 15th, I think the Monday's before that. So I'll probably, no, yes, I will be all right. 2 weeks. I'll do one before I go to Germany, so you can see the monitor before I go, and then you can all come and see it in Germany. Hopefully, should be a great party. Right, so everyone's dropping off now, so I'm going to do the same. You got your case, good, pleased about that. Glad you like it. Dare I say most people are pleased. Even one guy had a few problems fitting the 1200, he had to make an adjustment. Then he ordered another case. So people like the cases. First person that needs to do an adjustment. Right, I'm going because I'm going to end up just waffling. Alright, look guys, thanks very much for joining in. Let's go to this one, then I can end the stream. I'm going to end it now because everyone's dropping off. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. This is where I have to look away.